Welcome to, we're going to call this a post-season basketball, spring football podcast. We are presented by Carnley Properties. They serve the entire Austin metro area for residential, farm, and ranch real estate. They are more than the, transactional realtor. They really focus on the client, putting your needs above theirs to make sure that the customer makes a wise decision when purchasing home or land. Their slogan is unlock your future, and so we're going to put all that info below the player.
Clayton's a nice enough guy.
Oh yeah,
I hung with him a bit, and some of this postseason. He's good people, so he made some of those road trips. He's good people, but you need any real estate action going on, and I think he's trying to do something in good old West Texas too. But anyways, he's good people. Mr. Carnley, he's the loud Red Raider, I think. Yes.
Yeah, everyone heard him chanting, on the Kansas free throws up there in Lawrence.
That's right.
But how are you, Level?
I'm good. I'm kind of scrambling. I mean, this is like, feel like I've been gone for like 5 weeks, and it's just part of it. And then you get back and everything all the bullets start flying quickly. And I feel like there was a million things in just regular personal life or some professional stuff too, that it's like, hey, let me get through the season and I'll visit with you, or we'll talk about it, or we can meet, or whatever it may be, or hey, the doctor, or whatever it may be. And yesterday morning, it was like, here it all came. I mean, just like reality set in, like back to some normalcy. And I have a million phone calls, and so I'm just trying to keep up with all the latest goings on too. So it's just been, So welcome to the off season, although it's really not. It's kind of just it's kind of a crazy season, roster management, and spring football is going on. And then I've got a daughter graduating in like less than 2 months from high school. So my wife is like walking around kind of misty eyed half the time. So anyway, a lot going on, but I'm good to be with you, Ben, and I appreciate you guys holding the fort down and doing your thing.
Let's, you mentioned a lot of happenings. Let's start, basketball. That's kind of been the last, especially couple days. We'll start, so the Duke men's, you get on, you're on the plane the next morning and news breaks that Shannon is going to enter the portal. How did that kind of come together? Was that surprising to you at all?
I think it was the timing of that announcement was a surprise to me, just because of team travel and everything like that. And I'm glad that I haven't been able to visit with you until now, after several days have passed, because I would say, this is me talking. So I want to make that very clear here. This is my opinion, what I believe that I know, but this is Chris Level talking. I didn't mean to go third person. But you know what I'm saying. I think that he regrets the way that happened. I think that he's tried to make amends out in public via some social media stuff, and I think personally, behind the scenes with coaches and teammates and other pertinent parties. And I will just tell you, so we'll just lead this thing off. I'm not going to be surprised at all if he's back here.
Oh.
And I think, I figured that would be maybe your response, would be a lot of people's response, but don't be shocked. Don't be shocked. And, why it played out that way, how it played out that way, I don't have all the details there. What has gone on all since, I don't really know. I just am comfortable saying to you, don't be at all surprised if he comes back, and if you are able to get some closure there sooner than later. I'm not telling you that's what will happen until you get closure there. It's fair to wonder and question and be curious and all that stuff. I just feel like I should offer that up, because that's what I believe to be happening. So there you go.
Yeah, I have seen those social media posts, and a lot of the media reports out there are naming Kentucky and Illinois and some of these programs that have already reached out. But you guessed my reaction correctly. I wanted to The next guy, he's close to Shannon, declared for the NBA draft, Kevin McCullough. And obviously, this is a couple of years ago where they're allowed to declare and still return. Is that one of those situations where McCullough's looking for feedback on what he has to do to make the NBA?
Yeah, I think I do. Do I think he's going to play in the NBA next year? No, not at all. I mean, we're talking some of these guys, weren't even first, second, or third team All Big 12. I think it is about maybe the process. I think they'll get a really good feel for kind of where they stand with things. And sometimes coaches like it. They like it when this several years ago when Zach Smith went through the process, and and obviously TJ did last year, because it's like stuff that we've been telling you that you need to work on. Go hear it from the dudes that are paying all the money out. And then it makes my job easier, because you can say, I told you, I tried to explain to you, you need a better jumper, you need a better right hand or left hand, you need to be a better defender, whatever it is. Or you just don't register on the radar. It's like, hey man, it doesn't really matter what you do, you're just probably not going to be good enough, whatever. And so I don't think. I mean, I could be wrong. It's just my opinion. I don't, because I mean, you're talking. You got to be a first rounder to really guarantee anything. We all understand that. There's going to be really good players this year that enter the draft that aren't selected at all. And unless you're willing to say, I'm going to hire an agent, I'm willing to play overseas and kind of start my professional career, then because that's ultimately the decision I think that he'll end up at. But again, I could be wrong. And if this is his dream, which most kids that play basketball it is, he should go pursue it. He should go see what's out there and talk to NBA execs and all those things. But with 2 years left, I think that he will be able to come back to college or decide, you know what, I'm going to forgo and I'm going to go play professionally. I mean, I don't know what else I have to prove in college. I got dinged up some this year. I'm going to go make some money. I don't, that's kind of where I'm at on that. So the problem for Texas Tech, though, is this. How long does that process play out with TJ, with McCullough, with O'Banner? Because until you get closure on some of those decisions or any of those decisions, you're kind of, it's a bit of a guessing game here. You're trying to cook a meal when you're not exactly sure what you're trying to cook and what ingredients you need. Going to the old grocery store and like, okay, do I need the protein or do we have that? And I just need to figure out the sides and the dessert, or do I need some wine to go with it? I mean, you see what I'm saying? And so there's a lot going on there. You're not exactly sure what you need. And don't forget, Ben, and you know this as well as anybody. I mean, the Bryson Williams and the TJ decisions and the O'Banner decisions, they weren't until like June, July last year, so this may play out for the next 3 months, and the one deadline we do get is that, what is it, May the 1st, when they've got to have entered the portal?
Correct, to play next year.
Yeah, if you want to be eligible to play next year, you've got to be entered into the portal, and so that's a month away. So but at least that gives you some idea. Okay, all these guys are out. Maybe they all come back. Maybe we don't want any back. Maybe we'd want them all back. Who the heck knows? But at least that gives you some. But that's a month away, And I know you're getting questions like I am. Who are we going after? What's the deal? Heck, man, it's all over the place because you don't really know what you need. Know. So I could keep rambling on and give you an idea what I think that they will target, but I just hope everybody understands it's going to be a while before this plays out, because you're just not exactly sure as you try to put a team together, what exactly am I shopping for?
Right. Yeah. And so just real quick, still on McCullough, if you had the three options of going pro, returning to Tech, or, transfer portaling somewhere else, what would you say how would you rank those as most likely? Because I think the Tech fans on our boards, they don't want him playing anywhere else in college. If he goes pro, that's one thing.
I wouldn't rule that out. The thing about guys like Kevin and TJ is this: if they were to go play college elsewhere, and I could be wrong, okay, I'm just speaking on what I think I know, and again, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that this is fact, but I think they're more valuable here off the court than they would be elsewhere as far as like the NIL deals and things like that. They're a known quantity with the fan bases, with businesses, with whatever, because a lot of this stuff is coming into play.
Right.
And what you have is you have guys that have not used their freebie, transfer yet. Is what's going to happen in just the sport in general is you're going to have promises made to some of these guys trying to get them to use the freebie, knowing full well we don't have to deliver on our promise necessarily, because once we get them, they can't transfer again. They're stuck. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that comes into play with those two. And I think Kevin O'Banner to a certain extent as well. I think like O'Banner, I think his choices are play at Tech or play professionally somewhere. I could be wrong, but because he's a graduate, so I believe he would be able to allow to go anywhere he wanted. Because the thing about like an O'Banner, for example, this is a grown man. This is a guy that's done it, at the most important time, 6 straight double doubles in the NCAA tournament. And he's not going to want to be on some young team. He's not going to want to be on some team that doesn't have really high expectations. And I think that there's some things that he needs to try to get done for his family. So are all those boxes being checked here, or would that be elsewhere, or is that overseas somewhere? Good question.
Yeah. And then earlier today, it was announced Chibuzo Agbo would also go into the portal. I saw your tweet, always gave great effort, great kid. It just didn't work out. He didn't get the playing time, I guess, is what it came down to here.
Yeah, he's there's two sides of this. There's the personal side and there's the basketball part. The personal side is there's not a better dude, a resident of Lubbock, Texas, than Chibuzo Agbo. He is a quality person. He stands for all the right things. He works extremely hard. He's very respectful to. I mean, like prime example is go check out some of his social media, paying respect to some of the student managers that like stay up all hours rebounding for him. I mean, he gets it. And that part is like, man, everybody in that entire program will want what's best for him and root for him. There is no drama. There's never been anything but just good vibes with that kid. The basketball part of it is there's a reason he wasn't playing more. It's pretty clear based on how Mark does everything else. It's because he just wasn't good enough defensively to get the playing time. And he got tossed out there some. I mean, let's not act like he didn't play at all. He got tossed out there some, but I think, was he as good defensively as Mark wanted or needed? Was he elite at anything? Because when he came here, it was a sharpshooter, right. And you go look at it. He had the one game against Montana State where he lit it up and scored 8 points. It was 2 for 2 from behind the arc and things like that. But overall, it's a pretty empty stat sheet from like a 3-point assassin type thing. The percentages are really, really low. But ultimately, I think he probably wants to either one, play somewhere, where he can actually play and get the minutes, and two, maybe do it closer to home, and maybe he finds the one and the same there. Yeah. So we'll see.
Louisiana Tech took their second head coach assistant, from Texas Tech, following Sonny Cumbie. We got Talvin Hester. It's probably too soon for like names, but do you have any thoughts on Coach Hester taking the job and maybe what Mark Adams is looking for to replace him? Just a general idea if it's too early for names.
Yeah, well, it's one, I don't think that the whole carousel is finished moving, so that's a bit tricky. I think that staffs are still being filled, right now. And I think that, Coach Hester was only here for 11 months technically. So 3 years at La Tech, 1 year or 11 months at Texas Tech, and then back to La Tech. So that's a great fit for him. He knows that area. I talked to Sonny Cumbie or texted with him. I guess it was Saturday night, Sunday morning. He'd already visited with Coach Hester about the job and being involved with it and all those things. And I could tell that Talvin was really heavily involved in it, but I wish him the best too, and one of my first questions is he take anybody with him from Mark's staff? And it's not like, an assistant may leave, but you may take a graduate assistant, or I mean I'd be shocked if there's not somebody from this staff that doesn't go with Coach Hester there, and it could be plural. And so that's always out there. And then you need to figure out kind of what you need. Mark may feel like he needs more X's and O's. He may feel like he needs more of recruiting. Is there a player tied to the next hire that he makes? I mean, all is in play. So it's hard to try to pin it down when there's so many options. Like, you spin the wheel, it's like, heck, I don't know where it's going to land. They may not even know. You may not even know who you're going to hire, because the player that you may really want, that makes sense to hire a guy that's attached to a player, if this were to be an option, this may not even have presented itself yet. You just don't know. So I say that to say good luck trying to get this thing pinned down on March the 28th or 29th or whatever day it is right now, because I feel like the season just ended like 2 days ago, and it was just 4 or 5 days ago, and it feels like in some ways like it was a month ago already. As we're
Yeah.
trying to go through this whole deal. So, good luck, because and I would guess too, we don't have all the answers on. I mean, what about Clarence? What about Malik? What about KJ Allen? I bet we haven't really seen the all the movement that may happen take place yet. And until you really know that, you don't really know what, because I do think there's a chance. I don't think Buzo would come back, and unless he just went out there and was like, there's nothing out there for me. This is a better option for me. I like it here. I know I'm not going to get to play much, whatever. But I do think there's a chance that TJ certainly comes back, and I think that the McCullough thing may play out a bit longer. And then with O'Banner, when does that process end?
Yeah.
Are we a week away, or are we 2 months away? No clue.
So, I mean, regardless of whether all three of those guys come back or not, there are a few spots that they do need to add that they'll have. I know we reported on Isaiah Cottrell from West Virginia. He's a big man being a target. Is there anyone else that we should name that you've heard that could be an option?
As far as names, I'm not ready to do that yet, because I don't think
Okay.
everybody is out there that you may be looking at, because you're seeing a lot of Texas Tech has had contact with fill in the blank.
Yes.
And so here's what's happening. They're beginning that process because they're not real sure what they'll need. And so you're reaching out, and I think you're trying to get your name involved there early. But if somebody is in a hurry to decide, that's going to depend on who that player is. And if it's a no-brainer, because here's what Texas Tech ultimately needs. They ultimately want to take, without knowing all the answers to all the questions that are out there with the current guys in the portal, they know they need agent experience. So let's toss that to the side. That's an obvious. You need size and you need scoring. Okay. And I think that at some level you're going to take a guard and you're going to take bigs, as in plural. Now, how many on what you're doing, I'm not real sure. But I think at the end of the day, you have to replace Bryson and Marcus Santos Silva. I mean, right now, Bacho is your only big. I don't think he's going anywhere, just so I'm clear. And again, he would have to sit out if he were to transfer.
Transferred, yeah.
Yeah. Do I think he's ready to be a starting center and get you 13 or 14 a game? No. To replace Bryson's production. Do I think he could maybe take Marcus Santos Silva's minutes and be like the primary substitute from a big standpoint? Absolutely. So at the very minimum, you need size and you need scoring. And I do think that they'll take a veteran guard at some point. But do you need a wing? How many bigs do you need? Do you want a rim protector? Do you want a guy that maybe is a plus defender that maybe is not going to be able to score for you? I mean, those are all things that Mark will have to determine, and a lot of it's going to be case by case specific. Okay, I'd love to have this guy. Well, can we get him? Maybe not. Okay, well, you see what I mean? These are all the conference room conversations that you're going to have, and then you kind of hone in on, and we'll start to know it. I don't know, fairly soon when they start to hone in, because like Sean McNeil, prime example.
Yeah,
I think Sean McNeil in certain circumstances would be a great addition to your team. Like just an example to use another West Virginia product. He's a guard. He can score. He's got age. But if you're going to ask him to be a primary scorer for you, it's going to be like Davide Moretti in his last year here. It's a miscast.
Right.
It's not if he's asked to be like the third or fourth and just be a veteran presence and some things, I think you'll love what you've got. But if you're asking too much of him, which I think in some ways West Virginia did this year, you're in trouble. Isaiah Cottrell, I think that he's got it all in front of him. He's 6'10", 230. I think Bob Huggins tried to use him as a post up, back to the basket type player most of the season. I think if you just ask him to be athletic and score away from the basket at times, play really good defense, I think you may like what you'll get there. And he's not going to be a big numbers guy, but he knows what it takes to play in this league. So those are just two examples. But geez, man, it's like there's 50 guys we could go through. I don't have any idea, and it's driving me as crazy as it is you. But imagine if you're sitting over there with your board and you got all these names listed, and like, well, guys, what do we do? Like, who do we go after?
Yeah, I do have a small board posted on the side, so go check that out. And McNeil and Cottrell were both offered by Tech out of JUCO and high school, respectively. So there is some, relationship there and all those things.
And I could tell you for a fact, Mark Adams was directly involved with Sean McNeil. There was some conversations about how hard they wanted to go in on him or whatever at the time, and I think they elected to go a different route. And so there's clearly, knowledge is there of the player.
Yeah.
With Cottrell, there's some people around Isaiah Cottrell that I think have looked fondly at Texas Tech's situation and a few others, but this is not new interest. This is definitely mutual interest. But he may end up somewhere else. I think he's originally from, I want to say Vegas.
Yeah, Nevada. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I thought I was right there, but is it Nevada or Nevada or whatever? I don't know. They get all pissy about when you talk about how you pronounce the name of their state.
I'm sticking with what I went with.
And you know what? Ironically enough, it's National Nevada Day.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yes, it is March the 29th, National Nevada Day. But the kid from USC just entered. The kid from Louisiana. Northwestern State, and he's gone to LSU, but there's a gazillion. So, and here's the other thing, Ben, that people need to understand. You may have a guy that says, I'm interested in Texas Tech, and Texas Tech may say, I'm interested in you. However, follow me. If O'Banner is back, I'm not interested because I'm not going to get to play.
Yeah.
Or if McCullough and Shannon and O'Banner are back, I'm all about it because that team's ready-made to go win and there's going to be expectations. I want to be on that team. You see what I mean? So all of that, everybody's got a different agenda. What is everybody looking for? Are they looking for money? Are they looking for playing time? Are they looking for success? Or is it all the above? So that's why it's tricky trying to figure this stuff out here 4 or 5 days after the season. And I get it, man. There's a million questions, but with every answer I could possibly give you, it creates a series of questions, and we could just end up talking in circles as it relates to this. Because I have I think KJ Allen, it's not going to surprise me if he stays. It's also not going to surprise me if he wants to do like what Buzo's doing and play more. I think he's a kind of a freak athlete. He's a tweener. I don't know what exactly he is positionally. And he's not a good shooter, but I think that they love his attitude, his work ethic, and I think he will shock you with some of the things he'll just athletically. But again, he's 6'5", maybe not even that tall, but he plays much bigger. So again, what is he? And if Malik Wilson, if he's kind of like Bacho, if he leaves, he's got to sit out again because he's used his freebie to come here. With Clarence, that's a big red flashing light. He may decide I'm going to go somewhere where I can play more, or do they give him the keys and say, you know what, dude, we saw what you did versus Kansas. You scored 17 points. You're a bulldog. I love what you're doing. Here you go, man. But Clarence and Malik are largely the same player. That's the problem.
Yeah.
You're talking one is 16% from behind the arc, and the other is I think 11% from behind the arc. They're flawed. They're both big time athletes, big time defenders. They're dogs, but they are flawed in from the scoring category, especially shooting. Clarence gets to the basket at times. Malik gets guys the ball at times, but again, they're flawed. You have two of the same person.
Yeah.
So I don't know what you do there.
16 and 11%, but I'll tell you, my league hit the one versus Kansas, and Clarence hit two in Austin that probably won you the game. So
no doubt. I mean, I certainly get it, and I mean, you lived with it this year where you had both of them, but we all talked all season long too how you missed a pure point guard, right?
Yeah.
So So keep that in mind.
Did you want to get into any spring football or have any other closing thoughts on basketball?
This is your report, man. I'm just the guest. I would just tell you that we've talked a lot of numbers here.
Yes.
Don't forget to check out Derek Finley at Open Door Financial, opendoorfa.com. See, Ben, that's a professional segue right there is what that is. You can check out Derek Finley on the site at Fins Raider 07. FINS Raider 07. This is for financial advice for the common guy, for you and I, and you don't have to sign up to some big package or some whatever. It's kind of whatever is good for you. He's trying to protect you and your interests later on in life, and it's the smart way to do it. So a la carte and all these different things. You don't have to live in Lubbock. You can live anywhere. He would love to visit with you, but check out Derek Finley at opendoorfa.com. He's good people and he's a Red Raider. So with that, I can keep talking basketball if you have more questions, or we can transition to what little spring football we can, want to discuss. It's just what fourth practice, I guess, this afternoon is going on.
Yeah. I guess, I know you've been out in California, spring practice going on, but just from the three, practice, fourth is going on right now. Any thoughts or whispers or any big questions that you had going in that, you want to find out the answers to this spring?
Well, initially, I think that they are concerned about the offensive line, and there's some guys not like Cade Briggs, for example. He's not going through the spring. He may, in fact, be your starting center when all is said and done. Not real sure how that plays out. I think that they're learning that, Caleb Rogers and that Weston Wright can play. They're still trying to determine about the new additions and kind of incorporate them. And then you've got some guys that aren't going through it, like I said about Briggs. They're the same thing with wideouts. I think Loic is not going through the spring, so Zach Kitley's not going to be able to lay eyes on Loic. Jaron Bradley, I think, has been maybe the best receiver, him and Miles Price, to this point, because I think it was either Sparkman or Cleveland or both. They'd missed a few practices, so that's a question mark as you're trying to figure out. I will say this: I do think they will let spring roll, and then they will go try to find a guy that can step in and play wide out for them, like an outside guy. I think they will go in and try to find somebody maybe with some experience, go try to find a guy, similar to what you did from Troy or the
Kalen Geiger
with what was it, RJ Turner a few years ago before Geiger. I mean, an older guy that's got experience that can play, that'll look a little bit different than what you've got. But yeah, like a Geiger example is perfect.
They had the Joshua Moore kid committed, and then he flipped to SMU, so that would make some sense to try to replace that.
Yeah, and seeing the deal with that is he's got some stuff he's still got to do off the field. He couldn't be involved in the spring. There's a lot of stuff academic-wise that he needed to do, so we'll just kind of keep an eye on that one. And I think there was some NIL stuff that SMU stepped up for, but there's no guarantee that you were going to get him on campus anyways because of some stuff that he's got to sort through. So anyway, there's that. So yeah, but I think you were trying to make that work. You certainly were, because he's the kind of player that you want. Somebody that's different, an elite level athlete, and it's got some juice and take the top off and get behind the defense. Defensively, you saw them address one of the weaknesses that they knew that they had, was that just basically kind of being a run stopper, stopping the run is a bit of a concern. I think that the feeling is this is going to be a really good defense, and it's got some depth to it. But there's questions too. I will tell you that, and I was aware of this young man in high school. I was kind of surprised when he committed at the position that he committed for when he did, but he's a walk on now. Do you know who I'm talking about?
From Wichita Falls,
Bingo.
Jacob
He
Rodriguez.
he is been a big, giant, bright, shining star early on. The kid can flat out play.
Yeah.
He played against my son and daughter's high school, I think 3 times his senior year. Well, twice in his senior year, excuse me. But he was the quarterback for Ryder. But and I think that's where he went to Virginia for.
Yeah.
But you're playing him at kind of like this linebacker, kind of inside the box, maybe outside linebacker type role, and he's really good. I mean, really good. He's one of those guys that he's just a straight football playing dude, man. And I think he's been a big time bright spot because again, he was scholarship going to University of Virginia, and he's going to be on scholarship here before too long. I'm going to tell you right now.
Yeah,
So,
he was a top target at linebacker for Keith Patterson,
oh yeah,
before he committed to Virginia. I wanted to play some offense, and he put up like 120 yards or so. He, caught some balls, had some rushes this year as a freshman, but that's good to hear. Could always use some more linebacker depth.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But I think having Muddy Waters back out there now, and they're going to be just fine. Now, obviously, you still have Tyree and Hutchings and Bradford, but you just need to add some depth defensively. So Miles Cole will certainly do some of that, and they'll play him all over the defensive line and things like that. So, but I think that they feel pretty good about their defense, and I'll tell you, they feel really good about this is the other thing too. I know we all know what Zach Kitley did at Western Kentucky and even at Houston Baptist as far as throwing the ball and spreading it out. He's still going to run the ball, man. Like don't get it twisted. He's still going to run the ball and wants to run it and likes his 2 guys in Taj Brooks and Serrato. Yeah. So don't misunderstand. This isn't going to be throwing it 60 times a game and things like that. They're still going to run it. And it's speaking of on who's throwing those footballs and things like that. To me, it's clearly right now Shuck, Donovan, and Barron in that order. Don't misunderstand that order. There's not any worry about anybody leaving. I think all 3 players understand why that order is that way. And so there's really no need to be freaked out about this and that. I think they both, Donovan and Barron, both understand how smart Tyler is and how quickly he's grasped things. And if anything, sometimes Shuck can kind of overthink stuff and analysis by paralysis kind of stuff. But no, he's really good, and they just got to protect him a bit. So there you go.
Yeah, we saw what Kitley did with Houston Baptist here firsthand. Almost came in here and beat him. But no.
Yeah, I wish one of those Stearns brothers still had some eligibility. That would be a nice transfer to add one of those receivers.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah. Any other thoughts? I mean, that was really good stuff. So thank you for hopping on here with me.
I'm trying. I apologize for being tardy and trying to catch up with life and everything. But hopefully that, and again, this is going to be an interesting next several weeks as it relates to roster building, really in football and in basketball. Mainly it'll be basketball, but you're still, I think you've got some things you would like to get done football wise, adding to the roster. I just mentioned to you, maybe taking a white out. It may be a month or 5 weeks away. As you have to cycle through spring first everywhere else. But there's still a lot of movement there for sure.
Yeah, long and interesting offseason ahead for basketball, and spring football is getting underway. Spring game in about 3.5 weeks. So stay tuned. We'll be on top of all of it. And we'll do this again soon.
Keep hope alive. Clayton Carnley's good people. Derek Finley's good people. Check them out. Info will be all here and around. And thanks, Ben, for having me on, my man. Appreciate it.
Thank you.